Okay, all ready, gentlemen? Everybody's here? It being 10:30, I'd like to call the regular meeting of August 9th, 2017 of the Greater Lafourche Port Commission to order. Ms. Miranda, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I'd like to please remind y'all to turn down your cell phones or put them on vibrate. Next is roll call. Mr. Sherman.
Thank you, Mr. President. Seat A, Chucky Sherman here. Seat B, Perry Gisclair.
Here.
Seat C, Chris Godet.
Here.
Seat D, Rodney Gisclair.
Here.
Seat E, Mike Colley.
Here.
Seat F, Mr. Larry Griffin.
Here.
Seat G, John Melisson.
Here.
Seat H, Jimmy Guidry.
Here.
Seat I, Mr. Irvin Bruce.
Here.
You have a quorum, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sherman. Next is consider approval of the minutes of July 12, 2017, regular meeting.
Move.
Moved by Mr. Melanson, second by Mr. Bruce. Any discussion? Any public comment? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next is Executive Director's Report. Mr. Chiasson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, and first on our agenda is the Northern Expansion projects, and the first project is Northern Expansion Slip C, 950 linear foot west sweep dredging project. Angelette Piciola, Neil.
Okay, this project is ongoing. RLB Construction is the contractor. They've dredged about 70,000 yards out of the 100,000 yards on the project. To date, they're approximately 80 days past the contract time. We think they may have another 30 days to go. So potentially they may be faced with upwards of $100,000 of liquidated damages. They do have pay request number 2 today that we have before you. It's for $167,999.76. That pay request is in order, and we do recommend paying it. I think Bryce has a liquidated damage number that he's going to apply to that. That's going to be a deduct from that recommendation.
Just as we discussed on Monday night.
Any question? Thank you.
Okay, the Northern Expansion GLF 625 site improvements.
All right, Sea Level Construction is the contractor on this project. That project has been awarded to them. We've got all the contracts back and recorded, and we're currently scheduling a pre-construction meeting for next week.
Okay. Any question?
All right, Northern Expansion Slip C, 939 linear foot west bulkhead.
All right, this project is proceeding along nicely. Sea Level Construction is the contractor on that project as well. They've completed, I think, the piles on one of the 2 of the dead men for the compression side. They also have the sheet piles right now being coated and painted at Allied in Alabama. This project should be complete sometime in the spring of next year. There's a pay request today that they have before you for $255,437.29, and that pay request is in order, and we recommend paying it.
Any question?
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Neil. Northern Expansion Slip C, 1,671 linear foot east bulkhead, Piciola and Associates. So,
Yes, we received bids on July 26. Crosby Dredging LLC was a low bidder in the amount of $10,237,799. We did get good bids. We had probably 5 or 6 that were really close, and we had 13 overall. The bid was in order, and is our recommendation that you award it to Crosby Dredging.
Any questions? Thank you, Joe.
Remember, 400 feet of that is actually part of the oceaneering lease. Then the other 1271 is under right of first refusal with Newport Drilling Fluids.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you, Joe.
Okay, mitigation dredge of Slip D, J. Wayne Plaisance.
Right,
Job.
this project will fill in Rapalace Pond and turn it into a wetland. The low bidder was Crosby Dredging. Y'all awarded that bid to them. We've gotten the contract signed. We're about ready to schedule the pre-construction conference.
Any questions? All right.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
John.
you, John. Moving on to airport projects. Richard.
Yes, I'll hit the operations first for July. 2,661 operations tallied and 10,284 passengers, a total of 9,138 vehicles along the entrance road to the airport. The, let's see which project, the taxiway lighting project, we got the bid information. We've been coordinating with the FAA, and they have, we're basically ready to get that approved later on the agenda today, or have a recommended bidder for your approval. The low bidder was Sun Industries at $796,124.14. And we'll hopefully get that ball rolling pretty quickly here. Is there a loop on there too? Okay, that's it.
That's it. You have a question? Thank you.
Good job with the lights at the pump.
yes.
Thank you.
We got our self-serve lights operational this week, and they look great.
We'll get pictures of that for y'all for the next meeting, for the presentation, so y'all can see what we did. Okay, other projects. First is Section 203 feasibility study, GIS engineering. Dustin.
Glad to see you made it.
Almost didn't make it.
No, he's been
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
He's been here.
Mr. Director, that's a nice suit.
Thank you very much, I appreciate it. Yeah,
Okay.
The story behind the suit is, the last time we went to DC, Dustin and Joni, we were up there, and my suitcase did not get to Washington. So I had to buy this suit and the shoes I have on my feet right now. And then come to find out, when I get back to the airport, my suitcase is actually sitting at the airport the entire time I was in Washington. So anyway, thank you. You may proceed, sir.
Okay. All right, a brief update of where we are. As I mentioned to you guys last week, our next milestone is the November 1st deadline for us to submit our draft EIS. And hopefully simultaneous with that, have our tentatively selected plan, which narrows down our array of alternatives to an alignment and to a depth that we feel is the most economical depth for the port. And that's in terms of the Corps' way of doing it. We have an alternative, the locally preferred plan, which is something that the port's going to drive as per your recommendation on how deep you want to go. The three big components that are outstanding to get to that milestone are the economics, which we're about 85% complete. Two additional benefits that we're looking at is the LNG benefits, as well as general cargo. Cargo that's going to other deep water facilities, getting offloaded off the big ships, onloaded onto barges, and brought into Port Fourchon. If we had deeper draft, they could come directly here. So those are some of the ones we're trying to capture. The engineering cost estimate is currently 95% complete. The one outstanding item there that's critical is the maintenance dredging. Currently, the Water Institute is working on that modeling for us, and we expect sometime in the middle of October that they would have some preliminary figures for us to take a look at and try to make that decision for the tentatively selected plan. And the final part, the draft EIS, is about 65% complete. Mohan and his team are currently wrapping up some of the appendices for that document. We expect by beginning to mid of October that we'll have a final draft for internal review, and then submit that to the agency by November 1st.
Any question?
Yes, you still have the two subcontractors, AECom and the second
JMAC.
engineering firm, to help you along with this project?
Yes, sir. And AECom is the ones that's actually doing those two, looking at the LNG and the general cargo for us. JMAC is going to pull together those benefit calculations and capture them in the NED plan. They're going to actually draft that NED plan.
Thank you.
Okay?
All right. Questions? Okay,
Thank you.
thank you, Dustin. Nerby Collins Marina Steel Pile Replacement Project, Davy.
That project is E&L contractor. They did repair the wharf a week or so ago. They are on site with the crane barge. They actually drove the pile on the back wall, the one pile that was broken from that wind event, and they're removing pile clusters. The last thing they'll need to do is install the steel pipe and weld the caps and do the painting. So we're hoping end of this week, beginning of next week, they should be complete.
Any question? Thank you, Dave.
Okay, offshore anchorage, I'll call Joni up. She had actually, in another conversation, she ended up talking to the Coast Guard about the anchorage. So go ahead and give us that
Okay.
update.
Good morning. So we actually spoke with the captain of the port late last week, and he let us know that the offshore anchorage, they're fine with it. They've sent it up to their division office because it has to be signed off by the admiral, who is also caught up in the musical chairs that occur in the Coast Guard. So he is rotating out of that role at division in the next few weeks. And so it's a question of whether he signs it before he leaves or if it falls to the incoming admiral in the next couple of weeks. But either way, the captain of the port is good with it. So, questions? Okay, thanks.
Okay, thank you, Joan. Okay, Airport Access Road, that's a Lafourche Parish Government Project, EDA grant. Nothing really going on, but again, that project is going to move forward for the intersection of Airport Road and LA 308, enlarging that intersection. Okay, I did wanted to mention, it's not on the agenda, so let me just briefly mention it. The LNG company that we've been working with, Energy World, has submitted their request for pre-filing with the FERC, Federal Energy Regulatory Commission. So it is now a public project according to the federal government. So that is moving forward, as well as on the Coast Guard side, the preliminary waterway suitability assessment was actually submitted to the Coast Guard, as you know, but it has been, we received the response back, and it was nothing that we didn't already anticipate that had to be discussed in the waterway suitability assessment. So now it's on to actually doing the full-fledged WSA report. So it's moving forward. Now the clock is ticking for Energy World and the Fouchon LNG project is what they're calling it, to get everything done. So in the coming months, we will start to see Fouchon LNG, Energy World here to do public meetings. They will be presenting at different meetings, our meeting as well. I think they're on tap for September's SCIA meeting as well. And that's part of the public outreach that they have to do as part of the process. So it is moving forward. I think that's a good thing for us, and we're going to continue to work closely with them.
Who's in charge?
Who's
Kevin's going? Who's,
right? It's the same owner.
you know what I'm saying? Is who
The local person has changed.
Yeah.
But we have it's a guy by the name of Chris Pope.
Okay.
And we're working with him. There's 3 people that are managing the project
Okay.
through Energy World. Yep.
Mr. Larry?
Any other questions?
Is that the same thing you were supposed to build in Cameron?
No.
No,
No.
LNG.
No, I mean, there's tons of LNG work and new plants and everything taking place in and around the Gulf Coast. There's several in
Okay, that's what they're not
Calcasieu and Cameron Parish.
gonna be leaving there to come here?
No.
Okay, okay.
It's
That's all I
two
want.
different
It's two
companies.
different companies.
Yes, sir.
Correct.
Okay.
All right. Update from Restore or Retreat. Simone.
Good morning. I think since the last time I've been here, they, of course, the Louisiana legislature passed the coastal master plan. So we just wanted to update you. So much of our work at Restore Retreat concentrated on that happening, and then now we're going to work on the implementation end of it. So we wanted to come give you an update. We do have a couple of things to close out the master plan. We're doing a really cool, fun project with the state libraries, where Restore Retreat is distributing the master plan to all the libraries in the state of Louisiana, along with a map of the master plan. In case you wanted to know, there's 363 libraries in the state of Louisiana. And so our point is that it's Louisiana's master plan, and while it is coastal, it obviously affects all of Louisiana. So that's one last thing that we're doing to wrap up the master plan. But again, as we kind of move from planning planning to implementation, one of the things that Chet and I have been talking about for a long time is related to financing. And certainly, Chet brings this interesting perspective of, the possibilities of public-private partnerships or how government can do business a little differently, maybe more like a business. And so Restore Retreat was able to secure a major grant to partner with the CPRA to start a finance report for them to think about how they could take the money that they have. We know that we're going to get over $10 billion over 15 years. How can we leverage that and maximize that? And then with what we have, but then also what are some different things out in the world that are happening? Certainly public-private partnerships, green bonds, investment bonds. What are some different things that we can do to make that money have more of an impact? And so Chet's actually been a really great partner with us working on this. We put out a statement of interest and qualifications last Friday on it. We have a scope of work that's about 6 pages long, and we're really looking for a team of people, a financial services firm, a group of people to look at what we have, try to make it last longer, and look at other ways that we can bring other partners in. So we're going to close out that SIQ process in September, hope to have that underway in October to influence the state's next annual plan, which is how they spend their money every year. So really, things are really just starting to ramp up in a big way. And so we want to make sure that we have the cash available to put the projects in place that we want to have.
And part of that is that a lot of the funding, especially from Restore and those different pots of money, it's grant-based.
Right.
So you have to actually bankroll.
Yes.
You have to have a
So it's
cash
grant,
flow
right,
in
Chet's
order to
right.
do the project.
So so Restore and NERDA, Restore and NIFWIF especially, they're grant reimbursable. So for Caminata, the state had to put the cash up first, submit an invoice to NIFWIF, and get paid back. So you can imagine on an over $200 million project, how that bank account looks, money in, money out, and how that goes. Unfortunately, the state of Louisiana is not in a position right now to help us bankroll that, and so we need to be able to find ways to do that. The good news is that we've been hearing time and time again that money managers love the fact that the money is spread out over 15 years. It's part of federal legislation related to Department of Justice plea agreements. So that money is secure in more ways than most. And so, we just need to be able to cash flow that. Using the Caminata example is a good one, but we're trying to do 5 and 6 of those a year. And so what we don't want to do is start all these projects really important to us, get to year 4 and realize we owe somebody $800 million that, we'll get paid back next paycheck, right? So it's been a very interesting and something that a very interesting partnership that we've taken over. We love that CPRA is trying to think more like a business, and we're glad to be able to bring that to them. So we're hoping that this is just the first of many, many steps of how we can kind of bring that business side to the state agency, which is something different. Any questions? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Simone.
Okay, now we have any public comment. Anyone in the public?
First, let me introduce myself to those of you who don't know me. My name is Curtis Tompos Pierce. Tompos meaning Tom Thumb. It's a name my dad picked up when he was in the service overseas in France, and the people would see him walking with his comrades, and he was the shortest guy in the group, so they would say, "Look at the little T Tompos." So, and I picked it up from when I played football. My coach gave me that name. He blessed me, and I've been blessed ever since. So I love carrying his name over. And I want to thank the commission for allowing me to address the citizens of Ward 10 today. If you haven't seen the newspaper, yes, I am a candidate for seat E. I would like to sit in that seat. And today, you're hearing it verbally from me. That's one announcement. The second announcement I want to give to you today is, I made a decision yesterday, which was a decision I made for the first time. I got home and it was my wife's birthday yesterday, so I sat her down and I announced to her that I'm deciding to retire from the workforce, which is gonna allow me time to become a servant. And that's what I wanna do, serve the port, serve this commission, this board, and serve this whole community. And I'm gonna ask you to do a couple of things for me on election day. First, go vote. You need to go vote. Exercise your right to vote. It's a God-given freedom from our parents, people like my father and my grandfather, your family members who went out and fought. Some of them even gave their lives for you to be able to go vote. So it's important, go vote. You get to sit in a nice comfort area where nobody's gonna bother you and it's private, and your decision is made on your own. Secondly, I'm gonna ask you, when you walk in the booth and you want a full-time port commissioner, I want you to consider, I'm humbly asking you to consider Curtis Tampos Pierce. You give me your yes vote. You give me that upvote, and I'm gonna give you everything I have in this commission and do everything I can possibly do to try to bring more tenants to this area and into our commission and into our port so we can start providing jobs again. So again, don't forget, go vote and vote Tampos, Port Commission. I thank you for your time. I thank you for your patience. I thank you for your consideration. God bless you, and I hope He watches over you all today. God bless.
Thank you very much, Mr. Pierce.
Anyone else from the public? Okay. That concludes my report, Mr. President. Thank you very much.
Next is Executive Committee. Members are Perry Gisclair, Chairman, Larry Griffin, Chucky Shermy, and John Melisson Jr. First on the agenda is consider approving the sale of the excavator.
All right, after the third attempt to get this thing sold and get it off our hands, the old excavator on Gov Deals was up for auction yesterday, and the total price, it was sold for $37,200, and the person buying it pays the actual admin fee. So we're gonna recommend that we approve the sale of the excavator.
Move by Mr. Gisclair, second by Mr. Gode. Any discussion? Any public comment? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next is consider approving the request from FCC Environmental Services to lease site GLF 624-8.
Okay, so we have an approved right of first refusal. They want to execute that right of first refusal, FCC Environmental Services. So recommendation is to approve that lease.
Move.
Moved by Mr. Melisson, second by Mr. Guidry. Any discussion? Any public comment? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next is consider approving the renewal of Adopt a Road program for LA 3090.
Okay, this is something we do every couple of years. We adopt the road on LA 3090, and that's the program that is, removes trash and things from the road. We do that every day, so recommendation to approve.
Moved by Mr. Guidry, second by Mr. Bruce. Any discussion? Any public comment? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next is consider naming the Operations Center in memory of Wilbur Collins Sr.
Move.
Moved by Mr. Melisson, second by Mr. Griffin. Any discussion?
Just
Any-
to be clear for the public,
Yes,
that's the Operations Center in Fourche. We already have the Emergency Operations Center named when we commissioned that building. This is the Operations Center. You can see it on the screen there. would be named the Wilbert Collins Senior Operations Center, and we'll redo the sign and remake, put his name on the building, if y'all so choose to approve that.
Any more discussion? Any public comment? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Next is consider approving the request from Expert Riser Solutions for a landlord agreement.
Okay, we've been actually in discussions until this morning, so Bryce?
Right, so we discussed this on Monday night. Again, a quick recap is this kind of an agreement allows a bank to come onto the lease site in the event of a foreclosure on a loan to try to sell the collateral on the site, sell the movable equipment, and also assign the lease to somebody else, all in an effort to, to make back its money that it loaned. The one different provision that was in this agreement, again, that I mentioned to you guys that we haven't seen in any other agreements, is the bank's request to basically try to foreclose on the property and the collateral and not have to pay rent until that foreclosure is complete. We spoke about in the executive committee putting a cap on that amount of time, which they've agreed to. They've agreed to a 12-month cap. So in essence, in the unfortunate event that they need to foreclose on this loan, they will have the ability to come on the lease site, sell the collateral, the movable equipment, the inventory, and try to assign this lease to somebody else for a period of 12 months. At the end of that 12 months, they would pay us all the rent that was due for that 12 months. Another thing that's been included is they have a sublease on that site. Expert Riser subleases to Weatherford, and it's a significant sublease, okay? The bank has agreed that if we come to a foreclosure period and we go into that 12-month period, they basically pledge the rental that's paid by Weatherford to Expert Riser towards the payment of our rent. So if that does happen and the Weatherford lease is still in effect, the amount that Weatherford's paying is gonna easily pay the rent that's due us by Expert Riser. So that's an added security blanket for us. So if you have any questions, and this is up to a couple of minutes before the meeting, so.
Win-win.
What's that?
It's a win-win situation.
I think it's, again, a lot of bad things have to happen before we even get to that point. Get to that part, but even in the worst case scenario, I think we protected.
So on what's pledged from Weatherford's sublease?
Before we continue the discussion, I think I want to
Make a motion.
Okay.
And second, and then we'll have a discussion of this.
And I'll second it.
Okay, so back to that. That pledge will come.
Wait, Perry's gotta do the
Moved by
motion.
Mr. Goodis, second by Mr. Nelson.
Now we
Any
can proceed.
discussion?
There we go.
All right.
So back to Weatherford.
Right.
So they will remit the lease payments as those are received, so they're not gonna hold on to what they collect by Weatherford for 12 months.
Correct. So even, the only way that 12-month, we call it a rental abatement period, even starts is if they are not making enough money on the sublease to pay our rent.
Right.
As long as they're making enough money in the sublease, which today is more than 3 times what they would owe us in rent, they're gonna continue paying that rent. The only time that rental abatement period begins is when that amount is insufficient to pay our rent as it becomes due. Right.
And the USDA is a federal program. It's not private banking industry.
The
We're
US
creating a little different rules.
It's a USDA loan, but it's through a bank.
Correct.
In Louisiana. Correct.
Any other discussion? Any public comment? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Next, we move into Permits and Waterways Committee. Members are Chucky Sherman, Chairman, Mike Colley, Larry Griffin, and Perry Jusclair. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. President. First thing first, we have permits, Horace Pipeline Company.
Wait, we have consider awarding the sunken vessel.
Oh, wait, okay, you're right. And consider awarding the sunken vessels.
Okay, Bryce, before I recommended anything, how long are they?
I didn't have an
30
opportunity to
30
check before the
days.
meeting, but historically, E&L's quotes have been valid for 30 days.
Okay. I would recommend we not take any action on this quote because I don't want us to assume, I don't want you to give me the right to just sign a contract and go do it without first talking to the board again. All right, so what we're gonna do is, we're gonna take this quote, we're gonna, as we typically do, we're gonna let the owner of the vessel know that you need to do something or else, this will be what we would charge you if we go and remove it. And then before we make the final decision, if we wanna go remove it, you guys will have another opportunity to know if we got any response from the vessel owner, okay?
Got
Y'all
it.
good with that? All right,
Okay. Anything else on the sunken vessel?
so we take no action.
Okay,
Let's move
no
on.
action taken on this. Next, review permits and water from, first we have Harvest Pipeline Company, right of way of cleaning for maintenance of existing 12-inch pipeline, cleared vegetation will be chipped on site. Next, we have Gulf Inland Contractors, removal of out-of-service flow line well structures and oil field platforms located in Lil Lake. Then we have Discovery Producer Service, proposed installation of 14-inch pipeline to an existing LaRose gas plant to an existing valve site west of Highway 24. Next, we have Castech Lafourche, proposal to install 10 5-pile clusters and 2 10 by 20-foot waters for purpose of mooring vessels. On this permit, I would like to have our director look more into it before we issue it, if you don't mind.
If we have a
Before we
comment
decide
to
on it
okay.
or have any comment, look into this if you don't mind.
Okay, I'll look at it to see what
What-
they're planning to use those pilings for.
What they're used for and what was gonna become of
Okay,
it. All right?
we'll do that.
Okay, that's all we have for permits and waterways, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Next is Construction and Development Committee. Members are Irvin Bruce Chairman, Larry Griffin, Perry Gisclair, and Ronnie Gisclair. Mr. Bruce.
Thank you, Mr. President. First, consider approving the DOTD Third Amendment from Intergovernment Agreement for Slip C, 2,600 feet, project H8010153.
Okay, this amendment to the agreement is actually saying that they're gonna pay us out the final payment for this project of $3,912,481. So recommendation to approve.
Move.
Moved by Mr. Mello, second by Mr. Griffin. Any discussion? Any public comment? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Consider awarding the lowest responsive bid for Slip C, 1,671 feet, East Buckhead project.
Okay, again, low bidder is Crosby Dredging LLC for $10,237,799. Recommendation to approve.
Moved by Mr. Griffin, second by Mr. Bruce. Any discussion? Any public comment? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Consider adopting a resolution certificate certifying compliance with the public bid law for the Slip C, 1,671 feet East Buckhead project.
Okay, we did follow the public bid law, so recommendation to approve this resolution.
Moved by Mr. Gisclair. Second by Mr. Guidry. Any discussion? Any public comment? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Consider approving the DOTD intergovernmental replacement agreement for Slip C, 1,671 feet East Buckhead, project H012775.
Okay, this agreement replaces the old one, and tells us that we have available to us $1,087,519 in cash immediately, and they still will, as we go through the project, they still will reimburse us once funds are available to DOTD, but this is the cash available to us now.
Moved by Mr. Collins, second by Mr. Sheremy. Any discussion? Any public comment? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried.
Consider ordering the lowest responsive bid for the taxiway lighting and runway LED upgrades.
Okay, we talked about that earlier. We have a responsive bid totaling $796,124.14. And this resolution that you're gonna pass is awarding it contingent on the FAA agreeing to fund at least $600,000 of it. We anticipate and are confident that that's gonna happen, but we wanna make sure that we state it in the resolution that it's contingent on that funding coming from FAA.
Move.
Second.
Mr. Melanson, second by Mr. Sheremy. Any discussion? Any public comment? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried.
This is all I have, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bruce. Next is Finance Committee. Members are John Melanson Jr., Chairman, Jim McGidry, Chris Goudier, and Perry Jusclair. Mr. Melanson.
Good morning and thank you, Mr. President. First we have on our agenda is consider approving payment of the July 2017 invoices and recognizing those expenditures over $10,000. Item 1, Sea Level Construction Incorporated, $255,437.29, and that is for slip C 939 linear feet of west bulkhead. Item 2, GIS Engineering, $101,981.80, and that is for the integrated feasibility study. Item 3, RLB Contracting Incorporated, $95,849.76, and that is for the slip C 950 linear feet of west sweep dredging. Item 4, PCO and Associates, $60,226.46, and that's for a couple of items. That's for slip C, 1,671 linear feet of east bulkhead, Bayou Lafourche dredging permit, also the Bell Pass and Bayou Lafourche hydrographic study. Item 5, J. Wayne Plaisance Incorporated, $42,082.55, and that is for the slip D hydraulic dredge project and also for the revised plat and property description for available sites. Item 6, American Integration Contractors, $34,752.83, and that is for technical services and camera maintenance. Item 7, Vision Communications, $20,930.82, phone, television, and internet. Item 8, Epic Aviation, $15,869.77. That is for truck rental and fuel for resale. Item 9, Guardian Computer, $14,648.83. And that is for technical services and off-site backup and replication. Item 10, Dell, $14,370.81, and that is for the Power Edge server. Item 11, Bank of America, $13,520.91, and that is for port credit card charges. Item 12, Grand Isle Shipyard, $11,927.74, and that is for contract labor at the FBO. Item 13, Angelette Picciola, $11,920.50, and that is for slip C 939 linear feet of bulkhead, slip C 950 linear feet of sweep dredging bulkhead, and also the connector road entrance culverts as built. That, along with our other expenditures, brings us to a total of $1,286,519.07. And Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion we accept these expenditures.
Moved by Mr. Melanson, second by Mr. Guidry. Any discussion? Any public comment? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Next, we have consider approving the July 2017 unaudited financial statements, and I'd like to make a motion we accept this, Mr. President.
Moved by Mr. Mellison, second by Mr. Bruce. Any discussion? Any public comment? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
And last, we have consider approving out-of-state travel and training. We have Director Chasson, along with Commissioners Chris Godet, Rodney Gisclair, Mike Colley, and John Mellison, attending the AAPA Annual Convention in California, October 1st through the 5th. We also have Director of IT, Ms. April Danos, attending the AAPA IT Committee and Cybersecurity Subcommittee meetings in Washington, September 12th through the 14th. We also have Ms. April Danos, Director of IT, also attending the National Maritime Security Advisory Committee meeting in Virginia, September 18th through the 20th. We also have Director Davy Burrow, Deputy Director, attending the AAPA Facilities Engineering Seminar in Florida, October 23rd through the 26th. And last, we have Director of IT, Ms. April Danos, attending the Society of Naval Architects and Marine Engineers Maritime Convention as a panelist for 2 sessions. In the first session, she'll be speaking about port and vessel cybersecurity, and in the second session, she will be speaking about women in the maritime industry, and that is in Houston, October 26th through the 27th. Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion, we accept the out-of-state travel and training request.
Moved by Mr. Mellison, second by Mr. Guidry. Any discussion? Any public comment? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Mr. President, this concludes the financial report.
Next, is any other business? I have something to bring up, and this is just for you all to look at. Mr. Chasson, the center has capability, and they do clean offices and buildings. I'd like to know if we could perhaps call them and perhaps see if they would have an opening. Maybe they don't, but, and I understand that Jan Serb, whoever does both buildings, right? The old building and this building? They clean.
They do all of our buildings.
Okay. I'd like to know if there's possibility, a chance to give them at least the older building across, if they have an opening, to see if they'd be interested in cleaning the building. The center plays a big part in our community, and if we can give them a chance to do something, and research it and ask them, and if we can get a chance, I'd like to see if we could do that. Okay. We'll do that. Any other business?
No public comment? I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
Moved by Mr. Shermy, second by Mr. Gisclair. Any discussion? Any public comment? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. I keep every time I want, I talk to you about a couple times.
All right.
Look at it. You might want to
You gonna swing that hammer, Mr. President? You gonna swing your hammer? All right.
Thank y'all for coming.